I'm Scott Munn along with Tug Cowart in the Warrior Alliance Network studios in Atlanta, Georgia. Today we'll profile an American company that is warrior committed, which means they're actively hiring veterans like you. So if you or your family are looking to improve your employment situation or find a new career, then listen carefully. Fiserv is one of the world's largest payment processors. They handle over 25,000 transactions per second for over 6 million merchants in the United States and around the globe. And today we'll meet Dr. Vivian Greentree, Senior Vice President and Head of Global Corporate Citizenship at Fiserv. She's also the president of Fiserv Cares Foundation. And Dr. Greentree is also a Navy veteran and a military spouse who is passionately dedicated to creating positive, inclusive environments in our nation's citizens and companies so that they can thrive. Known for her strategic vision and coalition building, Dr. Greentree has designed award-winning employee-centric programs, successfully driving culture development through comprehensive employee engagement and inclusion strategies and her innovative approaches to community investment and partnership. Translation: she helps all kinds of folks get along and get the job done while working well together in a healthy environment. So let's find out about the work environment at Fiserv and how they're staying warrior committed. Dr. Vivian Greentree of Fiserv, welcome to the Warrior Alliance Network.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. That's quite the list of accomplishments. Goodness gracious! I mean, I'm envious of that.
I think the thing that missed it was that it didn't mention that I like karaoke.
Well, see, we got to get to that.
Very good at that. So.
Well, at the end of the show, our last conversation, the last bit of the conversation is your go-to because I have one too. Mine got me married.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Okay.
But when you put the money in to do a karaoke song, Fiserv's getting a little fee off that transaction.
Like if you have to PayPal it or something?
If we're lucky, yes.
Or Venmo it or
absolutely. We just want to make sure you're happily processing your payments.
I spent some time in the Navy, some of the best times of my life. And you, being an active duty sailor, also married to a naval aviator. How in the world, how did that work? Because how did y'all ever see each other?
That's probably why it worked. So no,
that's right. No, that's great. I love it.
He deployed, I think, 5 times after I transitioned out. And in that time period, I transitioned out, started my PhD using my GI Bill. We had two boys in rapid succession, and then moved between Norfolk and Texas and back to Norfolk. And I think, I heard someone say once, like, the smartest career decision you could make is who you marry. And I think that's true,
Amen.
In the military or outside of the military.
Absolutely
but
right.
Certainly for us, I think one of the questions was about balance. And I don't know that we've ever had balance, but we've had commitment, integration,
honor, courage, and commitment.
Honor, courage, commitment.
I recognize those.
Exactly. Fall back on those military values. While we were both active duty, when I transitioned off, he stayed on active duty, supported me and our children. When I went back to school, started a nonprofit, and then moved into the corporate sector. And then when he retired a few years ago, I tried to help with my years of knowledge, but I think it's different when you get that suggestion or that mentorship or menteeship from your spouse. So, but I knew all the resources to provide to him so that he too had a smooth transition, because it was different transitioning out 3 years ago in the middle of COVID. Then even before that, and it's different now. That's the thing. The people transitioning out, our service members and their families, it's never the same experience. So we have to constantly learn to evolve on the resource side to meet them where they're at.
No doubt. So talk about that a little bit, that transition time and how that worked with you and your husband. You kind of being the guiding hand because you'd already done it. Was it complicated? Was it challenging? Or is it just like anything else, just like other things that married couples just work through?
It's like a both and.
Okay.
Not
a yes but.
All of it, right? A yes but. Juggling knives while on fire on a bike. And that's what it really is.
That sounds really easy. Jeez, I don't know why you're even complaining.
Right. And at least when you transition out, no one's shooting at you.
Right there.
So
one benefit.
Keep that in mind. But it was, when I transitioned out, I was very lucky because he was on active duty. So I didn't lose my health care. I didn't lose my connection to services. We were moving, but I think that steady paycheck and that source of strength. So I was very lucky during that transition. When he transitioned out, I would say, it was the flip in a good way, and also, but we still feel the thing that I think we shared was that the change in identity, the loss of being a part of something greater than yourself, and wanting to find that
So true.
in the next thing you did. And I think
that's really tough to do too.
Right.
To find that cohesiveness, to find that camaraderie, to find that, like you said, that thing that you're doing that's bigger than just you. Right. That doesn't really exist outside.
Yeah, because nothing's going to be like the military.
Nothing. Or it doesn't seem like it. I've never found it if it is.
You want to come to Fiserv? No.
Yes, all right. Absolutely, man. Maybe I need to find me a new job.
No, but you're so right, because you feel that at a younger age, our service men and women do, and I see a lot of it in the younger generation that's coming out of college and in high school now, where they expect their employers. It's not just what they do; it is how they do it. And I like to think that the military kind of created that space for it, but really did, because we've talked about it over the last 15 years as service members and their families were transitioning out, that they have accepted and expected responsibility way greater than the one thing that they're doing as part of a team, and that corporations and communities do better when we have more of that esprit de corps, to use a Marine Corps.
There you go.
Marine Corps term.
Recognize that one too.
And so I think that is the thing, that it's a superpower that our military families have, that more of our communities and corporations need.
I see it a lot with kids that participate in athletics too, in a much different way. But it's that same cohesiveness. It's that same team spirit. It's that same, we're going to do this together.
That's absolutely true. High performing teams. I look to the military's example, and then Olympians, and high performing athletic teams, and realizing that you're only as strong as your weakest link. So you don't put defense on offense. You strengthen offense and you strengthen defense. And you don't tell the offense why they're not good at defense. You focus on what they're good at, and then you have people who are good at the other thing do that thing, and you build each other up. And that's a phenomenal comparison. I agree completely.
Well, speaking of team building, I have to imagine that was one of the skill sets that from the military that you kind of prepared you for your career as an exec at Fiserv. What else did you bring from the military direct to your time now at Fiserv?
That idea of think big, act small, move quick. Mm-hmm. So having the big goals, right? You're part of something greater than yourself, but you also have to get something done by the end of the day. You have a task in front of you, being very task oriented, and then a little bit of ask permission, not asking for permission, but asking for forgiveness. So that move quick mentality. But I think the military, at least, and I was in the supply corps, so we did a lot with a little for a very long time. Under limited ability to under limited direct leadership, and so we talk about commander's intent and taking that. And if the leader isn't in the room, you are empowered because of a shared value system of what you're trying to accomplish to get that thing done. And so I think that helps, and we need more of that on the corporate side as well, where you have these high performing teams that build trust with each other, and they build up that muscle memory of knowing, they're going to show up for each other, and taking mitigated risk. That's another one I think that the military has, where you take risks, but they're not. They're mitigated because you have knowledge, you have wisdom based on experience, and so you take risks against what you know to be an ROI. And that's why I think veterans make wonderful entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah, and you guys encourage entrepreneurship, don't you? I think we're going to get into that in a little bit, but that's one of your main initiatives. And you've also established some amazing programs in your companies that you've worked with, including Military and Veteran Affairs, and you co-founded the nonprofit Blue Star Families, all while juggling your own career advancement. Tell us a little bit about those organizations, and what is it that drives your passion to serve and give back?
Absolutely. I read an article way long ago. I would hate way long ago, but it was about a patriotism of benevolence, and it was a type of patriotism that's driven by a love of fellow citizen. And I was really lucky to grow up here in Atlanta, to benefit from the Hope Scholarship. I joined the Navy, out of college. It was either the Navy or the police force, and I wanted nothing more than to get out of Georgia, which is funny because I spent the next 20 years trying to get back.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Right,
yep.
Right. Everyone raised their hand.
Yep.
And but I was helped along the way by so many people, and I'm in rooms that my mother was never in, and my sons will be in rooms that I'm not yet in. And I have this sense of carrying forward kind of all the people that got me into the rooms that I'm in to represent them. And military families, you know, by and large, we're a shrinking population. Sometimes we have, you know, the challenges that we face during active duty times can impact whether military children choose to join the military, and whether people who have no familiarity with the military choose to join and serve. So I want to leverage the resources that I have where I am to expand that opportunity and access to serve in uniform, to show that you can and will be better after service. We can maintain an all-volunteer force, and that corporations and the private sector bear an equal amount of responsibility for creating those opportunities, for showing up to the kids that graduate high school and enlist and choose to, you know, to serve in uniform. And then help them as they're transitioning out to say, here's a wild world that you have access to, and we want you because of your service. You'll be better off for having served, and your families will be better off for you having served.
So true. It's so true. And the family is the unit, the base unit in the military, really. You might have your squadron, or in the Navy, what do you have? You know, we have a squad, or in the Navy, what's your group called?
I mean, your shipboard family, your
shipmates.
Your shipmates, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But every military member has the family as the basis, and that's why it's so important to support them first and foremost, I think.
So with Fiserv, you guys have all kinds of products and services, and then career opportunities for veterans too. So go through like what you offer for veterans that are maybe not employed by y'all, but then the things that you do for veterans as well that work for you.
So we approach it holistically through Fiserv Salutes, which is our way to meet the military community where they're at, whether they're thinking about enlisting, current military family members, transitioning out, or have been out, and also through the pillars of employment, experience, or entrepreneurship. So if they're looking for a job in FinTech, through us, or we'll connect you with any of our partners. You know, we know that we can hire 10,000 veterans, or we can help 10,000 veterans start their own businesses, and then they can hire a veteran or a military spouse. And so when you kind of pull the lens back like that, we look at it as employment, experience, or entrepreneurship. The experience pillar is like with partnerships like this one, where we talk about professional development, resume help that we can get, whether or not you work at Fiserv. Now, if you do work at Fiserv, you know, we have a very vibrant and thriving military leadership council. We seek to do businesses with businesses that also have military programs, so we can come alongside them. We love collabs, where if we're doing something with a community collab.
Yeah, I love it. It's just like Taylor Swift just joined the show.
Yeah, we love a collab.
Mashups, is that okay?
Right?
Yeah, kinda,
a good mashup where, you know, if we're doing an event, we want to use a veteran-owned vendor or a swag that a military spouse has made. Or if we're doing a pop-up with a veteran on their product, that we have someone come in and talk about resources that exist for the community, just where, you know, to raise that opportunity, access, and networking, because we know that there's veterans and military connected people in every zip code across the country.
Especially in Atlanta. Holy smokes, where we are.
We are, which is why, you know, I think Georgia is the #1 state to do business in.
For veterans? Because
we have so many veterans and military families.
Yeah, no doubt. What about a veteran that just wants to join Fiserv? Like, is it that an easy thing to do? You just go to the website and there's a whole, list of things that you need to complete or be qualified for or have experience with?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many ways. Whether it's through our career site, is very easily navigatable. But there's also, we're out and about on military installations, job fairs, things like this, on campuses. We do a lot with student vets. We actually also fund the Student Veteran Resource Center at the University of Georgia.
How about them dogs?
How about them dogs? How about them student veteran dogs?
That's right.
But we have partnerships with Georgia Tech and Kennesaw. I mean, and so we like to try to show up, you know, where it's authentic, where
I love that.
Where we'll meet someone. And I think too, one last thing about just the pillars that we use as we've worked with veterans through the years, you used to think, right, that as they're transitioning out, they would either use their GI Bill, they would get a job, or they might start a business. And now we're seeing that they could do all three of those. They could do two of them. They could start one, go to school, start a side hustle,
so encouraging.
Get a job. start a side hustle. So there's really not one point, that you can focus on. You have to be where all of them are so that you can meet them effectively.
And it's a great, because though I'm a Georgia fan, Georgia Tech has incredible programs. My son's best friends at Georgia Tech, we know the successes, and specifically, Scott and I have talked to the folks with the military outreach and veterans outreach there at Kennesaw State. They do great work. All the universities in Georgia, whoever you're a fan of, you should be proud of too.
Absolutely. I think it's the ecosystem that we've created here. And we operate in 50 states, and we try to build up the communities, specifically where we have large associations of our own population and employees. And Georgia's one. And, I, for one, am proud of that, for being from Georgia, to see the growth and also the emphasis on serving a community that has served our country.
Yeah, and there's so many veteran-owned businesses that y'all support, and women-owned businesses, female veterans, and entrepreneurship. How do you come alongside them to make sure that they're successful?
Well, one, we make sure they're effectively and safely processing their payments. But I think it's the wraparound. The access to capital is always important to small businesses, and we created a grant program during COVID, a commitment of $50 million that we've invested over the last 4 or 5 years. And we just recommitted a $10 million to focus really on disaster preparedness and then recovery, as we've seen more natural disasters.
Oh my gosh, North Carolina, Maui, and Hawaii,
South,
and then
South Georgia, Ohio, Iowa earlier, California now with the wildfires. And so, we seek to serve all small businesses, and in as much as we engage with veteran-owned businesses. We also fund the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. We have a coalition for veteran-owned business. We fund a Vet 100, which focuses on the rewarding and highlighting the 100 fastest-growing veteran-owned businesses in the country that are already a part of the Inc. 5000, and really elevating and highlighting. They're already rock stars. They're already on the Inc. 5000, and they're veterans. So we want to show other veterans this is what you can do, you can accomplish with these ideas that you have, and here's some resources that you can use for free during ideation. Or hey, if you want to go into procurement with a Fortune 500, here's how to get into the supply chain. Or you want to be a government contractor, here's someone who's done that and been there and wants to help you. And so that's where whether it's starting, ideation, growing. We want to be there, alongside them, making sure that they're successful.
We're talking to Dr. Vivian Greentree of Fiserv, and you can go to Fiserv.com to find out more about the company. I mean, it's just a wide range of ways that you can engage with them if you're looking for a new job or a new career, if you're interested in tech or finance, or if you have a small business and you want to get engaged with them about how your transactions work or any of these programs she's talking about. Go to Fiserv.com. You can also link up with them through thewarrioralliance.org. And let's talk about that a little bit. You've also supported the Warrior Alliance over the years, in event sponsorships and programs. What value does that partnership bring to your community and to our community?
I think, the more that you can leverage national resources in a local way that's directed by people who live in the community and are providing the services on the ground, the more important that is. And that's what happens, here. And for us to be a part of it, it's like we're not the best at all the things. We're very good at small businesses. And so if anyone's having a conversation in the community about how can we support veteran-owned businesses, we want to be at that table. And if we're at that table, then we'll also say, and here's another portfolio of resources that we have for mental health, community services, military kids, military spouse employment, physical activities, if that's the thing that you want to do. And so it's important to create that ecosystem. And I think one of the things over the years that I've noticed or I'm very proud of is I can solve more problems now through a text than by starting a new program, a new policy, a new partnership, or a new process.
That's great.
Right? It's like, who can you just text and say, hey, Scott, I got this situation. And then to be able to fix it like that, to me, is it's an unknown KPI of how successful a community blueprint is in serving whatever that population is. It could be veterans, it could be some other kind of systemic issue. But in Atlanta, I feel very confident that when someone asks me a question, if I don't know, I know who to ask. And that's something that the Warrior Alliance has helped build up here in Atlanta.
Yeah, you can have companies and organizations, but Tug, it really just comes down to people helping people. And that's what we got down at the Warrior Alliance is a lot of people who
Relationships.
care.
Everything comes down to relationships if you think about it. In life, everything. Name something that doesn't.
Yeah.
I'll wait.
You can't, I was going to say, you can't ask a Southerner that because it is all relationships.
I think right, and we're very fond of Southerners, of course, but I think that's a worldwide thing. You know, I mean, anything you want to do, you're going to ask a friend for advice. It could be as simple as advice, or hey, I got this great idea, friend. Would you be willing to invest? I mean, that's a really small, just off the top of my head kind of situation, but it all starts like that.
I get so many queries of, I have someone, they're transitioning off and they want to do this thing. And I do not do that thing, but I know someone who does that thing.
Right.
And all I do is I say, let me connect you, through LinkedIn, and then I, send the back text, the back call that says, hey, are you willing to help? And I think that no one is more eager to help a transitioning veteran or a military spouse than a veteran or military spouse who has somehow managed to make it to this side of the door and just wants to hold the door open and expand the number that are, kind of able to come in. And it's not, it's not a different standard or it's not a lower standard. It's just expanding the pool of applicants and fishing where maybe corporations haven't fished in the past. Or maybe it is translating a little bit of that. I did this in the military, so I can do this on the corporate side. But I have to tell you that I think most hiring managers hire for intellectual curiosity, showing up on time, being able to, solve problems rapidly with limited information. That's more important than you knowing any system we use, because like we were talking about, systems change every day. There's disruptors in every segment of the industry. FinTech is financial services overlaid on technology, and that's going to change. That's changing by the second. So we need people who are more intellectually curious, committed to a purpose greater than themselves, and that's where the military comes in with top talent.
It's a big fraternity.
It is. It is.
Well, let's let you do a little of that right now. I mean, in the radio and podcast world, you can speak one-to-one and to a lot of folks at once. So let's let you do that. As a veteran and a military spouse, what words of encouragement and guidance do you have for the veteran community, for an individual maybe out there listening, based on your own experiences of balancing career goals and raising a family?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Have an expansive worldview, but be intentional about leveraging your network, because I heard once that LinkedIn, if the military population were a country, we'd be the largest country. So there are veterans and military connected people who want to help the transition wherever they are. And again, if they're not the right person, no one wants to connect you more directly to your next kind of step than a veteran or a military spouse. I would say too, the resilience that military families have by overcoming so many obstacles, so many challenges, everything that's been, thrown at us. I'm putting myself back when I was a young spouse, and just it feels overwhelming. But every obstacle that you overcome, you develop that resiliency. Just like Tug said, for those high-performing teams, and that is a superpower, to be able to look at something and learn to rest, not to give up. It develops grit, and we need that, and that will get you through, some of the obstacles that might seem insurmountable, but they're not. I think, the last one would maybe be practice how you play, because good teams make hard plays look easy, and
That's so well put. So well put. It's the truth.
It is, right? And I feel like I've heard that several times this past week, and I really thought, you're right. Like, you have to practice how you play, because you play how you practice.
It sounds simple,
but it's
people
not.
don't get it. People don't implement it.
Right.
It's so true.
It's discipline. It's repetitive. But I think, from the military side, we're used to that. That's why we do those. That's why we do drills.
General quarters.
So much so that it's like second nature. That when you get up, so it's sometimes still when my husband hears a loud noise,
he's ready to go. He's ready to go.
Ready to go.
Ready to go to war if he need to.
Right.
All right. Here's the last thing we'll cover, and the most important. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Yep.
Baby got back.
Of course it is. Of course it is. I don't know why I thought it would be anything.
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
I don't know why I thought it'd be anything else.
I'm going to try to tie that in and say, well, and Fiserv has your back out there,
That's
folks.
right.
How about
Exactly.
that? So,
Yeah, baby.
and we did what we could with that one. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining us, and thank you for what you're doing for our nation's veterans.
Thank you, and thank you.
You're always welcome. I hope you'll come back soon.